Okay, so these that we're going to be factoring today are called ax squared. So tomorrow, I think I'm going to introduce to you my ever so famous and wonderful, fabulous factor flow chart. And so whenever we go through that factor flow chart, it'll make more sense when you guys see it tomorrow. One of the things we're going to ask is it x squared or ax squared? What we did Friday was just an x squared. So remember, Tuesday and Friday, when you wrote your two parentheses and you were trying to figure out what is that f, what would that f be? And I said it's always going to be an x squared, or a y squared, or an m squared, or a q squared, whatever it is. Which means your f was always x times x, or y times y, or n times n. The f was already taken care of for you. When you have an ax squared, it means there's a number in front of the x squared, which means your f isn't going to be x times x. Okay, before we get into all of this, what we're going to be factoring today is something that looks like this. Now, your answer still looks the same. Your answer is going to be two sets of parentheses, but when you FOIL out these parentheses, the f is a 5x squared, which means if you just do x times x, it's going to give you x squared, not 5x squared. Now, 5x squared, we'll talk about it, is going to be a little easier than some of the other ones because the only way to get 5x squared is either 5x times x or x times 5x. But it kind of provides a little challenges along in that way, okay? Now, let's go up here, because remember I talked about this last week, okay? Factoring is the opposite of multiplying. So what we're going to do first is we're going to see what this multiplies, what this FOILs out to be, just so we can kind of remind ourselves of what this is going to look like. So, if we were to FOIL this out, notice whenever I'm FOILing this one out, how this one's different is what we did on Tuesday and Friday. It was x times x was going to be your f. But in this case, my f is 2x times 3x, which is 6x squared. Okay? The o is 2x times 1, which is a 2x. The I, negative 3 times 3x is a negative 9x. And then the L, negative 3 times 1 is a minus 3. Now, one thing that is the same as what we did last week, notice the O and I, just like you kind of expected to anyway, can be combined together. So 2x minus 9x gives me a negative 7x. And then that f just drops straight down, 6x squared, and the L is just going to drop straight down. Now, what we did Tuesday and Friday, remember that the f was already taken care of for you. The f was going to be x times x. Notice it's not going to be that case now. Okay? Now, this is kind of one that to show you that, remember the whole point here, if we were to factor this, we're wanting to know what would I FOIL out to give you that back. Now, obviously, we already know what it is, but just to kind of show you that these aren't quite as straightforward as the other ones, I know that it's going to be 2x times 3x, but if I didn't know this right off the bat, I might be thinking, okay, well, to get the f, you could do 2x times 3x, or you could do 3x times 2x, or you could do x times 6x, or 6x times x. So see how the f isn't quite as straightforward? Now for the L is the same thing, right? Because to get that negative 3, I didn't combine it with anything else, okay? To get the L, I could do 3 times negative 1 or negative 1 times 3, or I could flip those around. And then the other thing is I've got to also figure out how to get these middle terms to combine together here, okay? These ones are going to be just a little bit more challenging than the other ones, okay? In the second method I'm going to show you, the airplane method one, I'm telling you now, super quick and easy. Super quick and easy than the AC box method. But what I will tell you, the reason why I'm going to show you both of these, and we're going to do examples for both of these, I think, the only teacher in this building that teaches the airplane method. Now, talk to the math teachers. They're cool with you doing the airplane method. They don't mind at all. But next year, when you get into your math class next year, they're not going to do the airplane method. They're going to teach the AC box method or something really similar to it. So I want you to be familiar with it. That way, whenever you get further on, you can, anyway, know how to do those ones. So let's start first with the AC box method. Now, first of all, how you are going to know that you need to do the AC box method or the airplane method is that it's an ax squared. So this is kind of easy to relate as well, because if it's an ax squared, you have to do the AC box method or the airplane method. See how all the A's go together? Okay. So as soon as you recognize that it's an ax squared, in this case a 5x squared, you're either going to say, okay, AC box or airplane. A's go together. Okay, so let's talk about the AC box method first. First thing, we're going to talk more about this tomorrow. The first thing we always want to do when factoring is we want to see if there's a greatest common factor. This is what we did 2 weeks ago. Okay? Most of the time there's not going to be. Notice 5x squared, 11x, and 6. They don't have anything in common, but we need to get in the habit of checking. Okay? Next thing what you're going to do is you're going to find factors of AC that add to B. So there's kind of two parts of the AC box method. There's the AC part, and then there's the box part. Okay? So the AC part, what the AC part is referring to, these problems are going to be in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So the a is going to be the number in front of the x squared, the b is the number in front of the x, and the c is going to be the last one. So the AC part, what you're going to do is you are going to multiply a times c. So that first number times the last number. You're going to multiply them together, AC. So we're going to do 5 times 6, and we're going to create that same T-chart that we did last week. Okay, the 30 is going to go on the left. And we are going to look for factors, things that multiply to give you 30, that add to give you B. Now the B is going to be the number in front of your X term. So really, this is almost the same thing as we did last week. Except last week we just said, okay, well, multiplies to give you 6, that adds to give you 11. The only difference here is that you're going to multiply the first and the last number that add to the middle number. But other than that, it's the same thing. So what are some things that multiply to give you 30? 5 and 6. And guess what? 5 plus 6, there we go. Found it the first time around. That part's the same as last week. Okay, that's the AC part. Now comes the box part. Okay, so I really like the AC box method because we used the box to multiply. Remember that? I know a lot of us did the FOIL method, but I taught you the box method to multiply. You can use the box method to factor. Okay, so you're going to draw a box just like you did when we multiplied, a 2 by 2 box. And we're going to use the box in the opposite way, which makes sense because factoring is the opposite of multiplying. Whenever we were multiplying, I wrote something on the top and down the side. I multiplied to fill in. After I did that, I added all of that together, and I got this from my answer. So we're going to do the opposite. What I did here, kind of thinking backwards, I multiplied something together, and when I did that, remember how we did the box method? This first term was usually just that x squared. So we're going to take that 5x squared and we're going to put it in the first box. You're going to put the first term in the first box. And if you remember, usually that last term, that 6, that was just in this one here. I didn't ever, hardly ever, if ever, combine these two together. Remember what happened with these two boxes? Remember how I could combine those together to give me this 11x? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to break apart that 11x, and it's going to go in these two boxes. So you're not going to put 11x in here. What you're going to put in here, those numbers that we found. You are going to put 5x and 6x. Now watch this. I love the box method because I can show you every step of the way that it's the same thing. If you were to add these together, 5x squared, 11x, plus 6, see how it's the same thing? Okay. Now what we're going to do, the only thing left to do is I need to figure out what would I have multiplied up here and down the side to give me these 4 terms in here. Okay, so this is easier to do than it sounds. What you're going to do is you're going to go up each row, and you're going to go across each column, and you're going to find the greatest common factor. So if I go up right here, okay, you're going to look at 6x and 5x squared. 6x and 5x squared. What do they have in common? So remember, I'm looking for things I can divide out of these. I can't divide anything out of 5 and 6, right? What do they have in common? They both have an x, right? We're going to write that on top of that column. And then we're going to do the same thing here. 5x and 6, now we just said this, 5 and 6 don't have anything in common. That has an x and that doesn't. They don't have anything in common, so what's the greatest common factor? 1. And then you're going to do the same thing with the rows. Okay, now, 5x and 5x squared, what do they have in common? They have a 5 and an x. And then what about 6 and 6x? A 6. Now notice, they don't have an x in common because that 6 didn't have an x, okay? The last thing you're going to do is you're going to match up the signs, because no one ever did the box method. This was either x plus 1 or x minus 1, and this was either 5x plus 6 or 5x minus 6. I just need to figure out what those are going to be, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the box closest to the term, and that's the sign that it's going to keep. So these are all positive. That's positive, that's positive, that's positive, that's positive. So this is an easy one. These are all going to be positives here. So your answer, keep in mind that even before we started this, I knew my answer was going to be something in 2 sets of parentheses. This is what goes in my parentheses. X plus 1 times 5x plus 6. That's your answer. Okay, like I said, this method, once you get the hang of it, I really don't think it's too bad. It's kind of a lot of work, okay? We are going to continue to practice this one, but in the end, when this is all said and done, if I show you the airplane method and you don't like the box method, then use the airplane method. That's fine, but we need to know how to do that one, okay? All right, now the airplane method is going to be kind of similar. You're going to get the same answer, but it's a lot less work. Okay, so I love the airplane method. Okay, are you guys ready? It's like my favorite part of factoring right here. Okay, so we're going to factor the same exact polynomial. We should get the same exact answer. Here's how you're going to do the airplane method. Okay, first thing you're going to look for greatest common factor. We're going to do that every single time. If there wasn't a greatest common factor the first time I factored this, there's not going to be a greatest common factor this time. Okay, next thing. As soon as you recognize that it is an ax squared, if you're going to use the airplane method, the first thing your airplane needs, wings, right? All airplanes have wings, right? Okay, here's how you're going to draw your wings. The same thing we did last time. You're going to find factors of AC that add to B. Same thing. Okay, so you're going to draw your wings. You're going to multiply 5 times 6, which gives you 30. Now, here's the thing. An airplane with wings is great and all, but it's not going to go anywhere if it doesn't have a propeller. You ready for this? Here's your propeller. This little arrow right here. See the airplane? Wings, propeller. Going? Yeah, got it, okay. So, 11. So factors of 30 that add to 11. Guys, the same thing we did last time. What multiplies to give you 30 adds to give you 11. And it's the same numbers as the last problem. 5 and 6, yeah, 5 and 6. Okay. So far, we haven't done anything different other than the visualization of my beautiful little airplane here. Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do. Instead of drawing a box, we're going to go ahead and set up our answer how we know it looks like. I know my answer is 2 sets of parentheses being multiplied together. I know that. So we're going to go ahead and set up our parentheses. Now, what we're going to do in the front of your parentheses, since this is a 5x squared, in the front of my parentheses, I'm going to do 5x and 5x. So you're going to take that first term and just drop the square. 5x and 5x. Now, right off the bat, what's the problem with that? If I FOIL this out, what is that going to give me? Not 10x. Times. Give me 25x squared. Which is a problem because I need a 5x squared. We'll fix it, I promise, but you have to start with the 5x times 5x. Okay? Now what you're going to do, you're going to take these numbers, and you're going to fill them into the factors. So it's going to be 5x plus 5, 5x plus 6. Once again, I know this doesn't work because your L, 5 times 6, gives you 30, not 6. Here's how you're going to fix it. The last thing an airplane does, it makes its trip around the earth, Because what? It lands. In order to land, what does it need? Some wheels, right? So you have to draw the wheels on your plane. So you're going to look at each of these factors. You're going to divide out any common factors. What do 5x and 5 have in common? A 5. What do 5x and 6 have in common? Nothing, right? There's your wheels of your airplane. You see it? Okay, now we're going to divide each of these by 5. So 5x divided by 5 is x. 5 divided by 5 is a plus 1. For the second factor, when you divide by 1, it doesn't change anything. So it's going to stay 5x plus 6. Look, same exact answer, two different methods. When we get to our examples, we are going to do examples of both. Most people like the airplane method, but if you like the box method, great. When you're going to get your homework, I don't care which method you use. Okay? All right, let's get this glued into page 25. Should be section 8.6, and we are factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. So what I think we'll do, I really do think it's important that you guys understand the box method. So what I would like to do is do maybe just the first two examples doing the box method, and then we'll do like the last four doing the airplane method. Once again, I want you to be familiar with the box method, but I would think that as soon as you understand both of them, you'll probably choose the airplane method just because it's a lot quicker and it's a lot simpler, a lot less steps. But that being said, if you like the box method, go for it. Okay? So the first two, we'll do the box method. So number one, let's do 2w squared plus 13w plus 15. Okay, now first off, the most important thing you guys need to remember, you already know what your answer looks like, right? Your answer looks like this. You know that. And you know that when you FOIL this out, you need to get 2w squared. The O and the I are going to combine to give you 13w, and the L is going to give you 15. Now, figuring out what goes in here isn't quite as straightforward as what we did last week, because this is an ax squared. As soon as you see it's an ax squared, you're either going to do AC box or the airplane method. Like I said, for these first two, we are going to do the AC box. So the AC box, two parts. First is the AC. Remember that these are in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So when I say AC, I'm going to multiply the first and the last number together. So you're going to take 2 times 15, and you're going to get 30. And you're going to look for factors of AC that add to b. So b is the number in front of x. So I'm looking for things that multiply to give you 30, but add to give you 13. What are some things multiply to give you 30? Do what? 10 and 3, which gives me 13. Now, for the box method, that's the AC part. Now, for the box part, you're going to go ahead and draw your 2 by 2 box. But remember, when we multiplied, we started with things outside the box and we filled in the box. We're doing the opposite here. We're factoring. So we're going to fill in the box first and then figure out what goes on the outside of the box after. So this first term, that 2w squared, is going to go in the first box. That last term, that 15, is going to go in the last box, because when I multiply all of this out, that's usually what happened, right? That first term got kicked out, the last term got kicked out. But these two boxes here, I combined together to give me 13w. So what I need to do is I need to break them apart. And we're going to break them apart using the 10 and the 3. Now here's probably the biggest mistake I see with the box method. You're not going to put 10 and 3 in there, because if I do 10 and 3, that doesn't give me 13w. I need to do 10w and 3w. That will combine to give me that answer. And then you're going to look at each column and each row and find the greatest common factor. So this first column here, 3w and 2w squared. 2 and 3 don't have anything in common, but what do these have in common? A w. Okay, this next column, 15 and 10w. What can you divide out of 15 and 10w? A 5. And then do the rows. 2w squared and 10w. 2 and a w. And then this last one, 3w and 15. 3. And then the last thing is you're going to match up the signs. Now, every single term in here was positive. So these are the easy ones. It's going to be a w plus 5. It's going to be a 2w plus 3. That's what goes in your parentheses. W plus 5, 2w plus 3. That's your answer right there. Okay, we're going to do one more using the box method, the AC box method, and then we'll jump to the airplane method. That's a little bit quicker because I know these are probably a little intimidating right now, thinking about how much work and how long they take. Okay, number 2. Let's do 5t squared minus 24t minus 5. Okay, here's the thing. When you get to factoring these, regardless whether you remember anything I've told you so far today, you already know what your answer looks like, right? You already can set up your answer. It looks like that. We just got to figure out what's going to go inside those parentheses. And how we're going to decide what's going to go in those parentheses, since it is an a x squared, there's a number in front of your squared term. Since it's an a x squared, we're going to do the AC box method. Now, whenever you do the AC part, and this is going to be the same when we do the airplane method, you have to include the signs. So we are going to take 5 times negative 5, which is negative 25. And you're going to look for factors of negative 25 that add to a negative 24. So multiplies to give me negative 25, adds to give me negative 24. Any ideas? 25 doesn't have a ton of factors. What are some things that multiply to give you 25? Do what? Okay, 25 and 1. Now, since I'm going to multiply and get a negative, one of these has to be negative. Now, if I do a negative 1, that's going to give me a positive 24. It's going to be a negative 25 and a positive 1. That will give me negative 24. Okay, once you find your factors, now you are going to draw your box. Okay, it's going to be a 2 by 2 box. You're going to fill in the box. The first term, that 5t squared, goes in the first box. The last term, that negative 5, goes in the last box. Now remember, this negative 24t wasn't in my box. I combined these two boxes together to give me that negative 24t. So we're going to break that negative 24t apart into a negative 25t and a 1t. And then we're going to find the greatest common factor. So this first column, 1t and 5t squared, what do they have in common? Just a t. Yep, a 1t or a t, either way. What about 5 and 25t? And it is actually going to be negative. I like how you said that, because how you know it's going to be negative? This box closest to the 5 is negative. The 5 is going to be negative. Okay? What about this column? 5t squared and 25t? Okay, 5 and what else? Now, this box, this 5t is going to be positive. Because see how the 5t is positive, it's closest to it? That term is going to be positive. And then the last one, 5 and 1t? Just 1. Now, this is closest to the 1t. See how the 1t is positive? The 1's going to be positive. You take the sign to the box closest to it. So your answer is t minus 5, 5t plus 1. Okay, that's the box method. Do you guys have questions on the box method? It's not super difficult. It is a little time consuming, kind of a lot of steps, which is why I have the airplane method, which I think is much easier and much simpler. So let's do a few using the airplane method. Okay, number 3 says 3d squared plus 20d plus 12. So you're asked to factor. You already know what your answer looks like, right? Your answer looks like this. We've just got to figure out what's going to go in there. So to figure out what's going to go in there, as soon as I recognize that it is an ax squared, my mind goes to A, stands for airplane. If you're going to have an airplane, you have to have wings. So we're going to draw our wings, which means I'm going to multiply 3 times 12, which is 36. I tell you what, an airplane is not going to go anywhere if it doesn't have a propeller to push it along. So that's what's going to go in my other column. Multiples of 36, things that multiply to give you 36 and add to give you 20. Lots of factors of 36. What are some things that multiply to give you 36? 6 and 6, which adds to give me 12. What else? Even if it's not right, throw it out there. Do what? 12 and 3, which is 15. What else? 18 and 2. There we go. There we go. Now for the airplane method, what you are going to do is you are going to go ahead and set up your factor. Now it's not your answer, but it's going to get me to my answer. Instead of a d times d, because d times d is never going to give me 3d squared, I'm going to do 3d times 3d, which I know gives me 9d squared. Remember, we're going to land our plane, we're going to fix it, okay? So we're going to do the 3d and 3d, and then we're going to take these numbers, plus 18, plus 2, and that's what's going to go in there. Now, like I said, we know this isn't the answer, because that doesn't foil out to give me that, so we can't leave our plane flying around in the air. We got to land our plane, which means we need some wheels. What do 3d and 18 have in common? 3. What do 3d and 2 have in common? 1. Now, whenever we do this, it's kind of like the butterfly method. 3d divided by 3 is d. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And when you divide by 1, it's not going to change anything, so it stays 3d plus 2. There's your airplane method. Okay, let's try another one. Number 4. 2n squared plus 31n minus 16. Okay, as soon as you see that it is an ax squared, we are going to do the airplane method. A for airplane, we're going to multiply 2 times negative 16. That gives me negative 32. We have our wings. You have to have your propeller. So that other column is going to be 31. Now with this T-chart, it is always going to be multiply to give you the first number, add to give you the second number. So what multiplies to give you negative 32? 32 and 1. Now, since it's a negative 32, one of these has to be negative. If the 32 is negative, it's going to give me negative 31. I need a positive 31. So it has to be 32 and negative 1. Okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to set up your factors. Now, this isn't your final answer, because remember, whatever I FOIL out, I need a 2n squared. N times n is never going to give me 2n squared, so we're going to start with 2n and 2n. And then we're going to take these numbers, plus 32 minus 1. And then the last thing, your plane's going to run out of fuel. You got to land your plane. What do 2n and 32 have in common? 2. What do 2n and 1 have in common? A 1. So we get n plus 16. Divide both of those by 2. And then the second one's going to stay the same. 2n minus 1. Okay, is there anybody in here who is feeling more inclined towards the box method? It's fine if you totally are. Okay? Alright. Let's do one more with the airplane method, and then I'm going to have you try the last one on your own. You can use whichever of the methods you want. Okay? So number 5, let's do 6x squared plus 13x minus 5. Okay, I already know know I'm going to do the airplane method because it is an ax squared. So an airplane needs wings. So we're going to take 6 times negative 5, which is negative 30. Got to have a propeller. So factors of negative 30 that add to 13. What multiplies to give me negative 30. 10 and 3. One of them has to be negative. Now I know whenever I add, I need a positive. So it's going to have to be the smaller number that's negative. So 10 and negative 3 would give me 7. What else? 15 and 2. And like we said, the smaller number has to be negative to give me a positive 13. Okay, we're going to go ahead and set up our factors. Now to get 6x squared, we're going to start with 6x and 6x. And then we're going to do plus 15 minus 2. And then to get your answer, land your plane. What do 6x and 15 have in common? 3. What about 6x and 2? 2. Now make sure you're dividing both of these terms by 3, both of these terms by 2. So 6x divided by 3 is 2x. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 6x divided by 2 is 3x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So your answer would be 2x plus 5 times 3x minus 1. Okay, I'm going to put the last one on the board. I want you guys to try it on your own. Okay. Once I give you guys a head start, I will work it out fully on the board, both methods, and whenever you get your answer, then you can get started on your homework. Okay, so let's do 6x squared minus 7x plus 2. Use whichever method you want. If you think you're going to do the box method, then try the box method. If you think you're going to do the airplane method, then do the airplane method.